What's up, guys? Today we're going to walk through an installation of our new CTA Brute Series front bumper on our 2022 F-250. So let's take a look at what you get when you open the box. You'll get the bumper itself, a left and a right frame mount, and the hardware kit. Quick note on the bumper, it fits the 17 to current, this body style, F-250 and 350, and it's not compatible with the adaptive cruise control sensor. So some trucks have a little radar module right here behind this plastic. If you have that, there are several different kits online that allow you to relocate it up to the grill. Today we're going to install some optional accessories. We're going to do our Pathfinder lights and a Warn Xeon series winch. Let's get started. All right, the first step is removing the stock bumper. So the first thing I like to do are get these little braces off, and it's the 2 bolts directly underneath this front body mount. It's a 15 millimeter. Next, if you have fog lights or any sensors in your bumper, you'll have a harness. On this truck, it's located on this side. I've seen on earlier trucks, it's over on the passenger side. Next, we'll take off this plastic piece. The main bumper bolts are behind it. It just snaps on. For these, you need an 18 millimeter socket. I'm going to leave one in there just a little bit so it doesn't fall when I take it off. Do the same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to remove the tow hooks. It's also an 18 millimeter. Same on the other side. Then we're going to take out these little bolt strips, and these are connected together on the inside, so you don't need a backup wrench. Again, it's an 18 millimeter. Same on the other side. First thing to installing the new bumper is to put the brackets on the frame. The last bolts that we took out, you want to save those and reuse them. We're going to put them back in the same location with these brackets. You should have a left and a right bracket. The driver's side is this one. So this bent flange is to the outside. That's how you'll know which one is left and which one is right. So the bolts we just took out, we're going to reuse here. And we've included hardware for the bolts that go down through the top. These are SAE 1/2 inch, so you'll need a 3/4 inch wrench and socket for this step. So the bumper has 3 different planes of adjustment. You've got your left and right, where this mounts to the bumper. The holes in the bumper are slotted vertically, so that's your up and down. Then your fore and aft adjustment is in this bracket. So I think a good starting point is in the middle. So I'm just gonna center these front to back, and then when the bumper's done and installed, if we wanna slide it forward or back a little bit, we'll just come to this point here again. But for now, I'm gonna start in the middle. Again, 3/4 inch socket and wrench. $18 millimeter for the sides. Same thing on the other side. With the mounts on, now is definitely the time to install any accessories. So it's easier to put the lights in now, and it's easier to put the winch in now. In fact, on most of these, you have to put the winch in first. So just a quick note, the light pockets are pretty universal. If you have this style light, that's what this pocket's designed to accept. There's a slotted hole in there to mount it with. Then even the light bar pocket in the bull bar is fairly universal. This fits the Pathfinder as well as the Rigid and several other brands. We're going to put a Pathfinder in. One thing to note on the light bar is you don't want to use the brackets that come with it. You want to use the brackets that we send. So you'll see this angled spot. It's angled like that to meet up with this panel here that's angled back. So it installs like that. This little tapered spot goes on the bottom, and the upright is what mates to the actual light. We're going to go ahead and install those right now. Here's a quick tip while you're putting your lights in. We have a wiring hole cut at the base of the bull bar. It's also for water drainage, but your bull bar light you can fish down from the top here, and then we have all these little holes in these gussets, and I like to run my wires through them for a little bit of a cleaner look. Also, these shipping pads make a great place to set the bumper face down without worrying about scratching it. Another quick note, if your winch doesn't come with the cable or rope installed, it's much easier to install it before you put it in. Also, make sure if the hook on the end of your winch rope, for example, is too big to fit through the fair lead one way, make sure you've pre-installed it. So right now we have the fair lead bolted to the winch, and we fed the rope through the fair lead from the outside, wound it around the winch, and secured the end of the winch rope to the drum. Now we're going to bolt it to the bumper. At this point, the 4 bolts are in the bottom of the winch. They're not tight yet. I find it easier to do once the bumper's bolted up to the truck. So we're about to hang the bumper on the truck and get the bolts that connect the bumper to the mounts installed. At that point, then we'll wire up the winch, spool up the cable right after tightening the winch bolts down. And a quick note on the bolts that go here. If you want, you can reuse the bolts that used to hold the bumper on. The spacing's the same. What I like about this option is you don't have to use a backup wrench, so just one tool required. However, if you'd rather switch to our grade 8 1/2-inch bolts, we include enough to do that. Okay, so at this point you want to grab a helper. You can rest the bumper on the mounts. The top face of the bumper can sit on the mounts. It'll be too low, but it's kind of a good pausing point to set it down. So we'll grab it, set it here, then we'll reposition and lift it up into place. All right. Okay, especially with the winch, it's pretty heavy. So I recommend 2 helpers, 1 for each side to lift, and then a 3rd guy to put the bolts in. If you have a jack or a lift table, a transmission jack, anything like that to help just lift, that's ideal. So all you have to do is balance it. We don't have that luxury today, so we're just gonna lift it. All right. Okay, to keep everybody from straining, I think it's best to get 1 bolt in each side, let everybody take a break. Then all you have to do is just lift the pressure off one side at a time to get the other 3 bolts per side in. So that's what we're going to do now. We chose to use the factory bolts. We've got a single plate that has the 2 nuts welded on behind there for these 2 bolts, and then again up top on these 2 bolts. So now all we need to tighten it down is an 18mm. We're just gonna lift the bumper up just until we get the gap we like up top, and then tighten these down. Okay, all 8 bolts are in and kind of finger tight. Now all we need to do is lift each side up to where we want it and tighten it down. I like a little bit over 1/2 inch of gap, because as this truck flexes, the bumper is mounted rigidly to the frame, but the body is mounted on isolators. So sometimes you'll see the body and the frame gap change. So you want to make sure you can get an average sized finger in between the gap. That's a good way to check it. So we're going to raise it up maybe 1/4 inch or so from here and tighten it down, and there will probably be a little back and forth to adjust it. We're going to check that the height is the same on both sides, and then that the width, we have about the same reveal here on each side. So it's a bit of a back and forth, and we're going to start that now. Okay, raise it up a little bit. Look good?
All right, go for it.
All right, we tightened down the winch, connected it to the battery, spooled up the rope, wired up the lights, and that's it. This is done. If you guys want more information, please check out ChandlerTruckAccessories.com.